Can you imagine hearing those words? They were the last thing my father said to me before he pushed me into an October storm and locked the door behind me. Get out of my house. I don't need a sick daughter. I was 15 years old. I had no coat, no phone, no money, just a school backpack with algebra homework inside and rain already soaking through my sneakers. 3 hours later, the police called him, and when he heard what they said, his face turned completely pale. But by then, it was far too late. I'm Cher Walls. I'm 28 now, sitting in my Boston apartment, watching rain slide down the window. There's a letter on my kitchen table, written in shaky handwriting on cheap nursing home stationery. After 13 years of silence, my father wants to see me. He says he's dying. He says he's sorry. The strange thing about rain is that it always takes me back to that night, October 14th, 2011. I remember coming home from school like it was any normal Tuesday. Backpack over one shoulder, thinking about the algebra test I had just aced. I was thinking about dinner, homework, and the band poster I wanted to buy with my birthday money. Typical 15-year-old thoughts. I had no idea that in less than 2 hours, I would be walking alone through a freezing storm, wondering if I would even survive the night. The moment I stepped through the front door, I knew something was wrong. My father was standing in the living room, looking like he was about to explode. His face was red, his hands shaking. In one hand, he held a wad of cash. In the other, empty pill bottles. My sister Karen stood just behind him. She was 19, 4 years older than me, wearing an expression of concern and heartbreak. The perfect image of a devoted older sister who had just discovered something terrible. But I saw her eyes. I noticed the small flicker she couldn't hide. Satisfaction. Our stepmother, Jolene, stood quietly in the kitchen doorway, arms crossed, lips pressed together. She said nothing. That was her way, remaining silent while everything fell apart. My father didn't even let me put down my backpack. He immediately started yelling, as if I had done something unforgivable. He accused me of stealing money from his wallet for months. He said I had been buying pills and hiding them in my room. He claimed Karen had found everything: cash in my dresser, pill bottles in my closet, messages proving I was talking to dealers. I tried to explain. I told him I had never taken anything, never seen those pills, didn't even understand what he was talking about. But the words didn't matter. He wasn't listening. His mind was already made up. Karen had spent the entire day preparing him, feeding him lies carefully and convincingly. She stood there, looking devastated, saying she had tried to help me, tried to stop me, but couldn't stay silent anymore. It was a flawless performance, and my father believed every word. He grabbed my arm so tightly it left bruises and dragged me toward the front door. My backpack was still on the floor where I had dropped it. He picked it up and threw it at my chest so hard I stumbled backward. Then he opened the door. Rain poured down heavily. Thunder echoed in the distance. The temperature had dropped sharply since morning. He looked me straight in the eyes and repeated those words, "Get out of my house. I don't need a sick daughter." He pushed me onto the porch. The door slammed, the lock clicked, and just like that, at 15 years old, I was homeless. I stood there for about 5 minutes, completely frozen, not just from the cold, but from shock. I kept expecting the door to open again, for someone to say it was all a mistake. No one came. My phone was still on my bedroom desk. I wasn't allowed to take anything except what I already had. My backpack contained textbooks, a half-eaten granola bar, and nothing useful for surviving the night. No jacket, no money, no way to call for help. It was 2011. Payphones still existed somewhere, but who carried coins? Not a 15-year-old who spent her allowance on band posters. I was a straight-A student with zero survival skills. So I started walking. I didn't really decide where to go. My body just moved automatically toward the only place that felt safe. My grandmother Dorothy's house, 7 miles away. She was my mom's mother, the one person who always made me feel like I mattered. 7 miles doesn't sound far when you're driving, but walking through freezing rain in soaked sneakers makes it feel endless. Route 9 stretched ahead of me, dark and slick. Cars passed by without slowing down. I was just a shadow on the roadside, someone no one wanted to notice. After the first mile, my clothes were completely soaked. After the second, I couldn't feel my fingers. After the third, my teeth were chattering uncontrollably. But I kept going. What else could I do? Go back and beg my father to believe me? He had already decided the truth. I had nowhere to go except forward, one step at a time. The dangerous thing about hypothermia is that you don't realize it's happening until it's almost too late. Your body slowly shuts down and your mind becomes unclear. Suddenly, stopping for a moment feels like the best idea. Just a quick rest. Just a second. I made it 4 miles before my legs gave out. I remember seeing a mailbox ahead and thinking I would lean against it briefly, catch my breath, and continue. My grandmother's house was only 3 miles away. I believed I could make it, but my knees collapsed before I reached it. The ground came up fast. Then everything went dark. 3 hours after forcing his daughter into a storm, my father's phone rang. The voice on the other end was calm and official. Officer Daniels with County Police. There has been an incident. Your daughter was found unconscious on Route 9, suffering from hypothermia. She is being transported to County General Hospital. Child Protective Services has also been notified. A caseworker is already present. We need you to come to the hospital and bring any relevant information. The hospital staff later said my father's face went completely pale. He looked like a man watching his life fall apart. Karen was standing next to him when he received that call, and for the first time, her perfect expression slipped. Just for a moment. But it was enough. Because the truth about that night is this: the woman who found me wasn't just a random passerby. Her name was Gloria Hensley, and she had spent 35 years working in Child Protective Services. She had seen every kind of abuse, every kind of neglect, every excuse parents make. She knew exactly what she was looking at when she found a teenage girl alone in a storm with no coat, no phone, and no one searching for her. And she wasn't going to ignore it. My father thought he was removing a problem that night. He believed he was protecting his family. But what he really did was start something he couldn't control, and he had no idea what was coming next. Before we continue, if you're following the story, consider subscribing and sharing where you're watching from and the current time there. Your support is appreciated. Now, to understand what really led to that night, we need to go back further, to when everything first began to fall apart. My mother, Patricia, died in 2006 from cancer. I was 10. Karen was 14. One day, we had a mother who made pancakes on Sundays and braided my hair. The next day, we stood beside a hospital bed, watching machines slowly go silent. My father didn't cope well. He went to work, came home, sat in his chair, and stared at nothing. It felt like he had shut down completely. So Karen stepped in. At 14, she took over responsibilities, cooking, signing forms, making sure I got to school. She became the reliable one, the mature one, the person my father depended on. And he praised her constantly. He never asked how she was coping. He only expected her to keep everything together. But what no one saw, what my father refused to see, was what happened behind the scenes. Karen wasn't just helping, she was taking control. And in her version of the household, I was the one kept at the bottom. It started with small things: missing homework, lost permission slips, clothes ruined in the wash, invitations that never reached my friends. Then it became something bigger. She spoke to my teachers, presenting herself as concerned, telling them I was struggling and acting out. Slowly, she built a reputation for me that I didn't even know existed. I tried to tell my father once. I explained everything, hoping he would understand. He didn't. He said I was jealous. After that, I stopped speaking up. 2 years after my mother died, my father remarried. Jolene tried at first, but things changed quickly. Karen aligned herself with her immediately, strengthening her position. I couldn't do the same. I wasn't ready. That choice made me an outsider in my own home. By the time I was 15, everything was clear. Karen was the perfect daughter, and I was the problem. Then there was the money. Before she died, my mother had set up trust funds for both of us, $45,000 each, available when we turned 18. It wasn't a huge amount, but it was meant to help us start our lives. Karen turned 18 in 2009. And she received her share immediately. It was gone within 11 months. A flashy sports car, designer clothes, and expensive gifts for her boyfriend Trent. A smooth-talking guy full of big ideas and absolutely no real income. By the time I was thrown out 2 years later, Karen had nothing left. Her trust fund was completely drained, and Trent was always talking about his next opportunity, his next investment plan. the deal that was definitely going to make them rich. Meanwhile, my $45,000 remained untouched, locked away until 2014 when I would turn 18, unless something happened to me first. My mother's trust included a clause, a safeguard she likely believed would protect us. If either daughter was declared legally incompetent or institutionalized before the age of 21, her share would be managed by a court-appointed family guardian until she recovered. Karen and Trent understood exactly what that meant. If I were institutionalized for substance abuse, if my father found pills, cash, and proof of drug activity in my room, then someone would have to manage my trust fund for me. Someone reliable, someone responsible, someone like a concerned older sister who only wanted what was best for me. $45,000. That's what I was worth to Karen. That was the value she placed on her own sister. The week before everything fell apart, she set her plan in motion. She made small cash withdrawals from my father's account using his ATM card. She knew his PIN because she managed the household finances. Trent provided empty prescription bottles collected over time. A prepaid burner phone was purchased and filled with fake messages. On the morning of October 14th, while I sat at breakfast thinking about my algebra test, Karen went into my room and planted everything. Cash in my dresser, pills in my closet, a note with the burner phone number as supposed proof of a dealer. Then she went to our father, acting distressed, and told him his youngest daughter was hiding something serious. He believed her. Why wouldn't he? Karen had spent 9 years building the image of the perfect daughter, the responsible one, the honest one. And I had spent those same years being quietly shaped into the opposite. By the time I walked through the front door that afternoon, everything had already been decided. The judgment was made. The outcome was final. That's how I ended up on Route 9 in the October rain, walking toward my grandmother's house like it was the only place left that felt safe. But Karen made one mistake, one small detail she didn't consider. She didn't account for Gloria Hensley. I don't remember much about collapsing, just the feeling of gravel against my hands, and then nothing, like a switch had been turned off. What I do remember is waking up, bright fluorescent lights, the smell of antiseptic and cleaning chemicals, a rough hospital blanket wrapped tightly around me, as if I was something fragile, something worth protecting. I hadn't felt that way in a long time. There was a woman sitting beside my bed, silver hair tied back neatly, reading glasses resting on her nose, a paperback book closed in her lap. She looked like someone's grandmother, the kind who bakes cookies and carries tissues everywhere. But her eyes were sharp, observant, taking in every detail. Her name was Gloria Hensley. She was 67 years old, retired after 35 years working in Child Protective Services. She had seen every form of abuse, neglect, and deception adults could direct toward children. That night, driving home from a book club meeting, her headlights caught something on the roadside. A teenage girl, unconscious, soaked, alone. She stopped immediately. Her tires screeched as she pulled over. She still carried an emergency blanket in her car, something she had kept from her years in CPS. She wrapped me in it while calling 911. She stayed until the ambulance arrived. She followed it to the hospital. And when I woke up 4 hours later, she was still there. That woman likely saved my life. Not only because she found me before the cold became fatal, but because she was exactly the right person to find me at that moment. When I opened my eyes, she handed me a cup of coffee, hospital coffee. "This is terrible," she said calmly, "but it's warm." I actually laughed. For the first time in hours, maybe longer, I laughed. She smiled back, a quiet, understanding smile that suggested she already knew more than I had said. "There you are," she said. "Now tell me why a 15-year-old was walking alone on Route 9 in a storm without a coat or a phone." So I told her everything. The accusations, the planted evidence, the years of manipulation by Karen. I shared things I had never told anyone before because no one had ever truly listened. Gloria listened. She didn't interrupt. She didn't question. She simply took it all in. When I finished, she remained silent for a moment. Then she said, "I believe you, and I'm going to help you prove it." Those words changed everything. While I had been unconscious, events were already unfolding. The hospital contacted the police after a minor was found in a dangerous condition. The police attempted to reach my next of kin, my father. I can only imagine his reaction when Officer Daniels called. Mr. Walls, your 15-year-old daughter was found unconscious on Route 9. She reports that you forced her out of your home during a storm. She is currently being treated for hypothermia at County General Hospital. You need to come in. Child Protective Services has also been notified. A caseworker is on site. Please bring any relevant information. My father and Karen arrived at the hospital around 10:15 that night. By then, I was awake, sitting up in bed, with Gloria beside me. Also present in the room were a CPS caseworker named Maria Santos and a uniformed police officer. It wasn't the situation my father expected. He looked unsettled, not guilty, not yet, but clearly confused and irritated, as if this were an inconvenience. Karen stood just behind him, and for the first time in my life, I saw uncertainty on her face. The smirk she had when I left was completely gone. They expected to find a frightened, apologetic girl ready to admit everything and beg to return home. Instead, they walked into a room full of professionals asking direct and serious questions about why a child had been outside alone in dangerous weather with no phone, no coat, and no protection. The situation had shifted. Karen noticed it immediately. She tried to follow her usual approach, the concerned older sister and the troubled younger sibling. We just want what's best for her. But Maria Santos wasn't convinced. With 30 years of experience in social work, she recognized dishonesty quickly, and Karen's story raised multiple concerns. Then my grandmother arrived. Dorothy Reeves was 67 years old, just over 5 feet tall, and completely determined. She had never trusted my father or his new family, and she wasn't going to stay quiet. She lived 40 minutes away. She made it in 25. I heard her before I saw her, the sound of her heels moving quickly down the hallway. She entered the room with purpose and immediately positioned herself between me and my father. "That's my granddaughter," she said firmly. "What has happened here?" My father tried to explain. He attempted to justify everything, talking about stolen money, pills, and supposed evidence. Dorothy listened briefly, then raised her hand to stop him. "Raymond," she said, "I've known you for 15 years. You've made mistakes before, but this may be your worst decision yet. You forced a child out into a storm based on what? Pills that suddenly appeared? Money that showed up without explanation? Did you even ask her side?" He hesitated. That was enough. My grandmother didn't just care about me, she defended me. That night, while I sat in the hospital recovering, Dorothy took action. She requested an emergency custody hearing immediately. It was close to midnight. That didn't matter to her. She contacted a family court judge she knew through years of community connections and got him on the phone. The hospital social worker presented the situation clearly. A minor forced out into dangerous weather conditions, no investigation before the decision, no attempt to verify claims. The child found unconscious with early-stage hypothermia, evidence never reviewed by any authority. By 12:30 a.m., everything changed. Emergency temporary guardianship was granted to Dorothy Reeves, effective immediately. My father was ordered to have no contact with me until a full investigation was completed. Child Protective Services would interview everyone: me, Karen, my father, and Jolene. They would also review all the so-called evidence carefully. As we left the hospital, my father made one last attempt to speak. He reached toward me, starting to say something. Dorothy stepped in front of him without hesitation. "You don't get to speak to her," she said. "You had the chance to act like a parent, and you chose otherwise. We're leaving." She led me outside to her old car, helped me into the seat, and wrapped another blanket around me, even though the heater was already on. I looked at her, overwhelmed. "Grandma, I don't even have clothes. I don't have anything." She gently held my hand. "You have me," she said. "We'll take care of everything else tomorrow. Tonight, you rest." That was the beginning of a new chapter. My grandmother's house followed 3 simple rules: breakfast at 8, homework before television, and no conversations before her second cup of coffee. It wasn't large or luxurious, but it was safe, and it was steady. For the first time in years, I felt a sense of calm, but the situation wasn't resolved yet. 2 weeks later, the CPS investigator called my grandmother. "Mrs. Reeves," Maria Santos said, "you may want to sit down. We've reviewed the evidence Mr. Walls provided. The timeline doesn't match, and we found surveillance footage that shows a different version of events." Karen's plan was starting to break apart. The investigation changed everything. Maria Santos didn't just review documents, she analyzed them. Every receipt, every timestamp, every detail. And the more she examined, the more inconsistencies appeared. It began with the cash. $800 had been found in my dresser. My father believed it proved I had been stealing from him. But Maria checked the bank records. That $800 came from a single ATM withdrawal on October 14th, the same day I was forced out. The bank provided camera footage. At 2:47 p.m., the person making the withdrawal was clearly visible. It wasn't me. It was Karen. She was wearing the same jacket from earlier that day. Her car was visible in the background, a white sedan with a noticeable dent. Meanwhile, I had a confirmed alibi. At 2:47 p.m., I was in chemistry class. School records showed I was present until 3:15. My teacher even remembered me participating in the lesson. There was no possibility I could have made that withdrawal. The timeline didn't allow it. Karen had overlooked something important. Banks have cameras. She made the withdrawal in the middle of the day without checking whether I had a verifiable alibi. She purchased the burner phone at a nearby store, again on camera, with her car visible. Her plan relied on assumptions, and those assumptions failed. Then there were the pills. The bottles found in my closet were traced back to a prescription belonging to Trent Barlow, Karen's boyfriend. The medication had been prescribed for anxiety and filled at a local pharmacy. When Maria contacted the pharmacy, another detail emerged. Trent had already reported those pills as stolen. He had even filed a police report, claiming they were taken from his car. Except he filed that report on October 17th, 3 days after I'd been forced out. If those pills were already stolen and placed in my room on October 14th, why wait 3 days to report them missing? The answer was clear. They were never stolen. Karen gave them to him to plant, and afterward, he reported them missing to cover the situation and get a refill. The delayed report made the entire setup obvious. But the strongest piece of evidence was the burner phone. The fake messages, supposedly from a dealer, came from a prepaid phone purchased on October 10th, 4 days before everything happened. Maria Santos tracked the store and obtained security footage. The buyer matched Karen, brown hair tied back, athletic build. She paid in cash, but her car was visible outside. A white sedan with a dent in the bumper. The same car, the same person. Everything pointed back to her. As the investigation continued, a more serious issue surfaced. Maria began reviewing our family's financial history, especially checks written from my father's account over the previous 2 years. What she found went far beyond the $800. Someone had been forging checks for nearly 2 years. The amount started small, $50 or $100, but gradually increased. The signatures looked similar, but not exact. The funds were traced to accounts connected to Trent Barlow and his so-called business activities. The total amount taken was just under $18,000. Karen hadn't only framed me. She had been stealing from our father for years, and removing me from the picture made it easier to avoid detection. My grandmother did not ignore this. She hired Leonard Vance, a longtime family acquaintance and an experienced family lawyer who had known my mother for years. After hearing everything, he immediately took action. He filed for permanent guardianship and initiated a civil case against Karen for fraud, emotional harm, and related charges. He also ensured that my trust fund remained protected with additional oversight until I turned 18. That period taught me something important. Keep records. Every receipt, every message, every agreement, document everything. My grandmother had always organized her paperwork carefully. She kept records of bills, letters, and important documents, calling it her paper insurance. After everything that happened, I adopted the same habit. At 16, I bought my first filing cabinet. I still use it today. Some habits truly matter. Living with my grandmother felt like starting over. Her house was simple. 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, a kitchen that always smelled like coffee and cinnamon. But it was safe. And there was no tension, no hidden agendas. She enrolled me in a new school where no one knew my past. For the first time, I made genuine friends, people who liked me without preconceived ideas. I also began counseling, finally addressing years of manipulation I had experienced. My grandmother didn't enforce many rules, but she was consistent about one thing: dinner at 6. No exceptions. She believed everything else could wait. Meanwhile, my father's situation was deteriorating. The CPS investigation placed his household under scrutiny. He was questioned repeatedly, each time more overwhelmed. He began to realize how much he had overlooked. Jolene moved into the guest room. Their conversations became tense and distant. Karen, however, showed no regret. She was only frustrated that her plan had failed. She blamed everyone else, the investigator, the evidence, the records. But the facts remained. Leonard Vance spent months building a strong case. Bank records, surveillance footage, pharmacy reports, purchase receipts, everything was documented. Witness statements were gathered from Gloria Hensley, teachers, neighbors, and even some of Karen's former friends. Many of them confirmed patterns of dishonesty and manipulation. The court date was set for March 2012. But before the hearing, something unexpected happened. Trent Barlow was arrested in Nevada. Federal authorities charged him with running investment scams across multiple states, involving over $400,000 taken from victims. Facing serious prison time, he chose to cooperate. He provided a detailed statement, 12 pages long. He confirmed that the plan had been Karen's idea from the beginning. She had been stealing from our father and sending money to Trent. When it became difficult to hide, she decided to shift the blame. That blame was placed on me. According to Trent, Karen believed I was the easiest target, the one least likely to be believed. She intended to have me institutionalized, which would give her control over my trust fund while also explaining the missing money. He described the entire plan, how they prepared the evidence, the phone, the setup. He included messages that showed the plan was deliberate and carefully arranged. One line stood out. Karen believed her sister wouldn't defend herself. She was wrong. By March 2012, I had been living with my grandmother for 5 months. My health had improved. I was doing well in school and beginning to feel stable again. But walking into the courtroom, I still felt uncertain. My grandmother held my hand. Leonard Vance reassured me. Gloria Hensley was there as well, quietly observing. The hearing was initially about custody, but it quickly became something more. With Trent's statement and the evidence collected, criminal charges were involved. Karen sat with a public defender, noticeably different from before, less confident, more uncertain. My father sat alone. The evidence was presented clearly. ATM footage showing Karen withdrawing the money. School records proving I was elsewhere at the time. Pharmacy records exposing the delayed theft report. Store footage showing the purchase of the burner phone, forged checks totaling $18,000, and Trent's full statement. When Karen testified, she attempted to maintain her version of events. But the prosecutor addressed the evidence directly. She presented the ATM image and asked if it was Karen. Karen tried to explain it as a grocery withdrawal, but the inconsistencies were obvious. The timing, the amount, the location, all contradicted her claims. Then Jolene was called. She spoke quietly but confirmed key details, including Karen entering my room that morning and a conversation she overheard days earlier suggesting the plan was already in place. My father's testimony followed. He admitted he had not verified any of the claims before acting. He acknowledged that he had relied entirely on Karen's account. The judge addressed the situation clearly. She stated that trust does not excuse negligence. She emphasized that removing a minor from a home under dangerous conditions without investigation was a serious failure of responsibility. Karen faced multiple charges, including fraud and false reporting. A plea agreement was reached. She received a suspended sentence, probation, community service, and was required to repay all stolen funds. A restraining order was issued. She was prohibited from contacting me in any way. She also received a permanent criminal record, limiting her future opportunities. My father lost guardianship rights permanently and was required to support my education and therapy. The community became aware of the situation. Relationships changed. Jolene filed for divorce shortly afterward. At the end of the hearing, the judge granted full permanent custody to my grandmother and ensured my trust fund remained protected. As we left, my father attempted to speak again, but my grandmother stopped him. We continued walking. I didn't look back. That day was bright and calm. For the first time, the future felt open. Years later, in October 2024, a letter arrived. I was 28, living in Boston, working as a marketing director, and engaged to someone who treated me with care and respect. The letter came from a nursing home. It was from my father. He explained his health had declined and expressed regret for what had happened. After thinking it through, I chose to visit, not for him, but for closure. At the facility, he looked significantly older and weaker. He apologized repeatedly. I listened, then I told him I forgave him, but I also explained that forgiveness did not erase the past. It meant I was choosing to move forward without carrying that burden. We spoke briefly, then I left. Outside, everything felt clear. Later, I learned he had refused to see Karen. It didn't change the past, but it marked a shift. Back in Boston, my life continued. I had stability, support, and people who valued me. Looking back, that night didn't end my life. It redirected it. Some losses lead to better outcomes, and sometimes what you lose makes space for what truly matters.